how you doing?
Dewey.
Long time no see.
Yeah.
So, what did you just fly in?
It's a 1935 Fairchild 24 C8C, and the C8C stands for Challenger. Fairchild bought out the Kreider-Reisner company, and they were building Challenger biplanes, C1 through C6, and then they designed a monoplane, the C7, that was an open cockpit but had the same wings and tail as this, like Steve's Fairchild 22.
Yeah.
Is a Kreider-Reisner C7, and then this C8 was the cabin job. They put originally 3 seats, and eventually they put 4 seats in it. But it's a 1935 Fairchild 24 C8C, which is pretty rare. There's not that many of them left. There's a lot of the later ones from 1941, 1946 and stuff, but very few 1935 versions. Actually, the engine is interesting too, because this engine is the same one that came from the factory with this airplane in 1935.
Really?
This engine has been on this airplane since 1935. It's the same engine. So that's the most interesting thing. It's a 145 horsepower Warner engine. It's, I think, about 540 something cubic inches, 549 cubic inches or something like that. It's interesting because there's no oiling in the overheads like a modern engine. So you have these grease fittings, and you have to grease them every 10 hours.
Okay.
I just greased them this morning because I put about 10 hours on it from Amarillo, Texas. And then, of course, the grease flies out. I've cleaned most of the airplane, but if you look on the windshield, the grease flies out on the windshield, and that's actually pretty normal for after a fresh grease job to have that much oil or grease on the windshield. But if you're flying into the sun, it makes it hard, and you gotta, nowadays with all the radio towers out there, you gotta watch out for the radio towers. It makes it a little bit tougher, but it's normal 1935 airplane stuff. 40 gallons. It's got 2 wing tanks, 20 gallons each side.
Okay.
So 40 gallons. It burns about 8 gallons an hour, so it's 5 hours basically to dry. It's all wood spars, wood ribs. Pretty typical construction.
Cool.
For the 1930s. It's a very classic styling. It's you probably heard of the Smilin' Jack comic strips from the 1930s, and I think Smilin' Jack had a Fairchild 24 like this. It has the curves and stuff. Is very, like the Traveler is very Art Deco 1920s. This is very 1930s. It's a little more streamlined. They were into streamlined trains and streamlined cars and streamlined the airplanes more in the 1930s. So this really captures the 1930s. Here you can see from the upholstery, you can see it's kind of a luxury. It's not really the Learjet of its day. That was probably like a Staggerwing, but it's probably like the King Air of its day. I mean, it still was a pretty plush airplane. This airplane, this is the 3-seat version. If you look in the back, there's 1 seat in the middle of the back.
Okay.
But you can see the kind of fancy instrument panel and everything, and you look through the windshield again. It's obvious that the grease is. We're going to clean that off before we go flying. But yeah, it's very plush. This airplane was owned by a company named Galpin Airways in the late 30s, and they used to fly people over the Grand Canyon in this airplane.
So it has toe brakes on the left seat only.
Yep, they're cable brakes. They're kind of weird. They don't work very well, and the pedals move as the landing gear goes up and down. Like when you take off, the pedals move back because it must pull the cable a little bit or something. And sometimes you push them on, and you have to start rolling before they release. You can let off them, and they still kind of hang on, and then when you start rolling, they release. They're kind of quirky, which again is typical of 1930s airplanes.
What about the push? You know, the old cars back in the late 70s and 80s were like, that was the high beam light.
That's the starter button.
That's the starter,
yeah,
okay.
That's how you engage the starter, is that button up between the rudder pedals.
Man.
And then, of course, it has sticks. Most of the stuff is fairly obvious.
I see you're flying with your trusty, reliable GPS map.
That's it. The compass works good. The compass works great. So, yeah, it's been easy to navigate with the map and the compass. And compartment where you can put stuff, and kind of like your car. And then this is kind of neat. This is the fuel selector. Okay. Well, I picked it up in Amarillo, Texas on Sunday. I flew out of DCA National Airport, Washington, D.C. on Sunday. Got to Amarillo about noon local. Picked the thing up in the afternoon and flew it up to Pampa, which was about 80 miles. And then I left Pampa yesterday morning and made it, I haven't added up the miles yet, but it was 8.8 flying hours, and made it all the way to Terre Haute, Indiana last night. But it goes about 105 miles an hour, something like that. About 1,800 RPM, cruise RPM, and all the controls are ball bearings, all the hinges are ball bearings. It's a well-engineered airplane, so everything's nice and light. The landing gear is interesting. It has very long stroke oleo shock struts, And when you land it, there's a lot of times you land it and you're down and you're rolling and think, oh, I'm down, but it's not quite done yet. And still the wing is still holding a little bit of weight, and then it goes down a little more. And once in a while, I had one where I was landing somewhere and the left one went down before the right, and the left wing started to go down. I thought, what's going on? And then the other one went down and it was okay. But it's kind of weird. You can have both wheels rolling on the ground, but you're still flying. Well, I talked to the owner. He said that you can go for a ride if you want. I can take you for a ride. So well, run it around the patch real quick.
Let's go fly this bad boy.
How many airplanes have you ferried? Do you know?
No, I did try to add it up one time, and it was, I think, maybe 40, something like that.
Wow.
The first one was when I was 19 for my dad, of course, but still when I was 19. A stomp biplane from Manistee, Michigan, back to Rhinebeck. And I've been turning 55 next Saturday.
Well, that's pretty young.
It's all relative.
Control check.
Instruments good. This is on. Primers locked. Attitude. All set?
I'm all set.
I always say all set before I take somebody up because that's what they said in the movie Wings before they go on a mission. If you ever watch, that's a silent movie, but they always say all set, and then they go. All right, here we go.
You guys that don't know Andrew, if you've seen any of the Hit the Barnstorm or Life videos, but Andrew flies my Travel Air and this new Standard with me and for me, and we play around on YouTube making our videos. But he grew up at Old Rhinebeck Field.
Yep, Old Rhinebeck Aerodrome up in New York.
And so Andrew is probably one of the most experienced World War I guys in the country. And ferries antique airplanes all over the country, and United States, North America, I guess.
This is kind of luxury for me because it's a closed cabin airplane. I'm used to being open cockpit.
Alright guys, I'm getting out here. This sun is not in a good position. But there we are. Man, that's a nice flying airplane. There's Adam. What I did, I took a portable intercom system, a two-place, and hooked up a couple headsets and then my cell phone. And I was able to hopefully get okay audio. Probably not great, but okay. It's time to get Andrew a little bit of lunch, a little bit of fuel so he can head on out to the east. He's going to stop in Zanesville and get some gas and then proceed on out to Harrisburg area, Pennsylvania. All right, Andrew.
All right, Dewey.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Stop by anytime you like.
Thank you. I got 375 miles to go, a headwind and clear skies. So